Zara Patel clutched her worn leather backpack as she navigated Rosewood High School's crowded hallways. At 16, she was petite, barely 5 feet 4 inches, with long dark hair braided down her back and thick-rimmed glasses that made her appear younger than her age. Her oversized cardigan hung loosely on her small frame, and she kept her eyes down, hoping to blend into the sea of students rushing to their next classes. She had been at Rosewood for only 3 weeks since her family's move from Mumbai, and the transition felt overwhelming. The hallways were twice as wide as her old school, filled with students who seemed to move with confidence she couldn't imagine possessing. Her slight accent made her self-conscious about speaking up in class, and her naturally quiet nature made it easy to disappear into the background. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Just keep your head down and get through the day, she whispered to herself, the same mantra she'd been repeating since her first day. The morning rush was particularly chaotic, with students slamming lockers and shouting across the hallway. Zara pressed herself against the wall, trying to avoid the chaos, when she heard a familiar voice that made her stomach drop. Well, look who's trying to sneak by again." Travis Cooper's voice boomed across the hallway, drawing attention from nearby students. At 17, he was tall and broad-shouldered, with sandy brown hair and the confident swagger that came from being the star quarterback. His Letterman jacket was perfectly fitted, and his smile held a cruel edge that made Zara's pulse quicken. She quickened her pace toward her chemistry class, but Jake Morrison, Travis's lanky best friend with red hair and a perpetual smirk, stepped into her path. Behind him, Brad Kellner crossed his arms, his stocky build and permanent scowl making him look like a bouncer. "Where you going so fast, Mouse?" Travis had given her that nickname after hearing her quiet voice during attendance on her second day. The name had stuck, and now half the school called her that. "I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get to class on time," Zara said, her accent making the words sound even more timid than she felt. "She's sorry, guys," Brad laughed, mimicking her pronunciation. "So polite. What they teach you in India, Mouse? How to be invisible." Students streamed past, most averting their eyes. Zara had learned quickly that Rosewood operated on a strict social hierarchy, and nobody wanted Travis's attention by defending someone at the bottom. Even Mrs. Patterson, who was supposed to be monitoring the halls, had mysteriously disappeared when she saw the confrontation brewing. "Please, I don't want any trouble," Zara whispered, trying to step around Jake. "Please, I don't want any trouble," Jake repeated in a high-pitched voice, causing nearby students to snicker. "What's the magic word, Mouse?" Zara's hands trembled as she gripped her backpack straps. She thought about her grandfather's training, the hours they'd spent in his small apartment back in Mumbai, learning techniques that could disable a grown man in seconds. But her grandfather had always emphasized that fighting was the last resort, and besides, these boys were much bigger. Causing trouble might get her suspended, and her family couldn't afford problems that might jeopardize her education. The 5-minute warning bell rang, and panic fluttered in Zara's chest. She was going to be late for chemistry, and Mr. Rodriguez had already warned the class that tardiness would result in detention. "Excuse me," she said quietly, trying once more to get past them. Travis stepped closer, and Zara caught the scent of his aggressive cologne mixed with the protein shakes he constantly drank. "I think Mouse needs to learn some respect. What do you think, boys?" Before Zara could react, Travis grabbed her backpack and yanked it off her shoulders. The contents spilled across the hallway floor: textbooks, notebooks, pens, and her carefully completed chemistry homework scattered everywhere. Students stepped over her belongings, and Zara felt tears prick her eyes as she watched a week's worth of work get trampled. "Oops," Travis said with mock sincerity. "Butterfingers." Zara dropped to her knees, frantically gathering papers, many now torn and dirty with footprints. The final bell rang, meaning she'd definitely be late now. "This is pathetic," Brad commented, as Zara crawled around collecting her scattered belongings. "Look at her scrambling around like a little mouse." "That's why the name fits perfectly." Jake kicked one of her notebooks further down the hall, and Zara had to chase it. By the time she gathered everything, the hallway was nearly empty, and she arrived at chemistry 3 minutes late, face flushed and hair disheveled, earning Mr. Rodriguez's disapproving look and her classmates' snickers. "Just 8 more months," Zara told herself, sliding into her seat at the back of the classroom. 8 more months until graduation, then college somewhere far from here. The pattern continued for days. Derek Travis, she corrected herself, and his crew would find her in the cafeteria, making loud comments about her appearance while she ate alone. They'd accidentally bump into her in the hallways, causing her to drop her books. In gym class, they ensured she was picked last for teams, and Jake would throw volleyballs at her head during games, claiming they were accidents when Coach Williams wasn't looking. Zara developed careful avoidance strategies. She learned their schedules and took alternate routes between classes. She started eating lunch in the library instead of the cafeteria. She even changed her locker to the opposite side of the school. But Rosewood wasn't that big, and they always found her eventually. It was during one of these encounters that Hannah Lou first noticed what was happening. Hannah was sitting with her friends near the lockers when she saw Travis corner Zara by the water fountain. "Hey, Mouse," Travis called out, his voice carrying that familiar cruel undertone. "We've been wondering about you." Zara's pulse quickened. She clutched her books closer and looked for escape routes, but they had positioned themselves strategically to block all exits. "Yeah," Jake added, stepping closer. "You're always so quiet, so scared. What's your deal?" "I just want to go to class," Zara said, her voice barely above a whisper. "That's the problem," Brad said with a nasty grin. "You think you're too good to talk to us, too good to be friendly." Hannah watched as Zara's face went pale. She had seen this kind of bullying before at her old school, and she knew it would only get worse if no one intervened. But Travis was popular, and his friends were feared. Standing up to them could make her a target too. "Maybe we need to help you be more social," Travis said, reaching out to grab Zara's arm. "Don't touch me," Zara said, pulling away sharply. For just a moment, Hannah saw something flash in the quiet girl's eyes, something that looked almost dangerous, but then Zara's expression returned to its usual timid state, and she hurried away, leaving Travis and his friends laughing behind her. Hannah felt a stab of guilt as she watched Zara disappear around the corner. She should have said something, should have helped. But the moment passed, and she remained silent, hating herself for her cowardice. Telling and preparing this story took us a lot of time. So if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The next day, Hannah made a decision. She found Zara sitting alone in the library during lunch, as had become her habit. The quiet girl was hunched over a chemistry textbook, her sandwich untouched beside her. "Is this seat taken?" Hannah asked, gesturing to the empty chair across from Zara. Zara looked up, startled. Hannah was pretty and popular, with shoulder-length black hair and a warm smile. She was known for being kind, but she had never spoken to Zara before. "I know, it's not taken," Zara said, confused. Hannah sat down and pulled out her own lunch. "I'm Hannah. Hannah Lou. I know we haven't really talked before, but I've seen you around." "I'm Zara," she replied quietly. "Zara Patel. I know," Hannah said gently. "I've been wanting to talk to you for a while, actually. You seem really smart, and I could use help with chemistry if you don't mind." Zara blinked in surprise. "You want my help? If you don't mind. I'm completely lost in Rodriguez's class. I saw your last test grade 98%. That's amazing." For the first time in weeks, Zara felt a small spark of pride. "I could help you, I suppose." Chemistry has always been easy for me. They spent the rest of lunch going over chemical equations, and Hannah was impressed by how patient and knowledgeable Zara was. When the quiet girl explained concepts, her accent became less pronounced and her confidence grew. "You're a really good teacher," Hannah said as they packed up their things. "Thank you for helping me." "Thank you for asking," Zara replied, and Hannah caught a glimpse of the smile that transformed her entire face. Their friendship might have grown slowly and naturally from there, but Travis had other plans. The next day, he and his crew cornered Zara near the cafeteria, unaware that Hannah was watching from a nearby table. "Well, well, Mouse," Travis said, his voice loud enough to draw attention. "I hear you've been making friends. That's cute. What do you want, Travis?" Zara asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "Just wondering if you're ready to stop being so antisocial," he said, stepping closer. "Maybe you could be friendlier to everyone, not just the smart kids." "I'm not bothering anyone," Zara said, backing away. "That's the problem," Jake chimed in. "You act like you're too good for us." Before Zara could respond, Travis accidentally bumped into her lunch tray, sending it flying. Her sandwich, apple, and carton of milk scattered across the floor, and the cafeteria erupted in laughter. "Oops," Travis said with mock sympathy. "Clumsy me." Zara stood there, milk dripping from her sweater, her face burning with humiliation. She knelt down to clean up the mess, and Hannah felt her heart break, watching the quiet girl's shoulders shake with suppressed tears. This time, Hannah couldn't stay silent. "That was a horrible thing to do," she said, standing up from her table. Travis turned to look at her, surprised. "Excuse me? You heard me." "That was cruel and unnecessary," Hannah said, her voice carrying across the suddenly quiet cafeteria. "Mind your own business, Lou," Travis warned, but Hannah could see uncertainty in his eyes. "This is my business." "Zara's my friend, and what you're doing is bullying, plain and simple." The cafeteria was dead silent now, everyone watching to see what would happen next. Travis looked around at all the faces staring at him, and for a moment, Hannah thought he might back down. Instead, he laughed. "Your friend? The little mouse? That's hilarious." But his laughter sounded forced, and Hannah could see that her words had rattled him. He wasn't used to being called out publicly. "Come on, guys," he said to his crew. "This is boring." As they walked away, Hannah rushed to help Zara clean up the mess. "I'm so sorry that happened," she said. "Are you okay?" Zara looked up at her with tears in her eyes. "Why did you do that?" "Now they'll target you too." "Because it was the right thing to do," Hannah said simply, "and because you don't deserve to be treated like that." Hannah's intervention had consequences neither girl expected. Travis didn't immediately retaliate, but his behavior toward Zara became more aggressive and personal. He seemed determined to prove that no one could protect her, especially not someone like Hannah. The worst incident happened the following week. Zara was walking to her next class when Travis and his crew cornered her in an empty hallway near the gym. The area was secluded, away from teachers and most students. "Hey, Mouse," Travis called out, his voice carrying a dangerous edge. "We need to talk." Zara's heart raced as she realized they had surrounded her. Jake blocked one end of the hallway while Brad covered the other. There was nowhere to run. "I haven't done anything to you," Zara said, backing against the lockers. "That's where you're wrong," Travis said, stepping closer. "You got your little friend to embarrass me in front of everyone. That's not acceptable." "Hannah was just being kind," Zara said, her voice trembling. "Kind?" Travis laughed harshly. "Is that what you call it? Making me look like a bully in front of the whole school?" "You are a bully," Zara said, the words slipping out before she could stop them. Travis's face darkened. "What did you say?" Zara's training kicked in, and she could feel her body automatically assessing the situation. 3 opponents, confined space, her back to the lockers. Her grandfather's voice echoed in her mind. Always be aware of your surroundings, beta. Always have an escape plan. But she forced herself to remain still. She couldn't fight them. Not here, not now. I said you're a bully, Zara repeated, her voice stronger this time. And everyone knows it. Travis's hand shot out and grabbed her arm, squeezing hard enough to bruise. You need to learn some respect, Mouse. Maybe it's time someone taught you your place. Before he could do anything else, Hannah's voice rang out from the end of the hallway. Let her go, Travis. Hannah was running toward them, her face flushed with anger and fear. Get away from her. Great, Travis muttered, releasing Zara's arm. Here comes the cavalry. Hannah reached them, slightly out of breath. I saw what you were doing. This is harassment, Travis. I could report you. Go ahead, Travis said. But Zara could see the uncertainty in his eyes. It's your word against ours. Actually, it's not, Hannah said, holding up her phone. I recorded. The whole thing. Travis went pale. You recorded us? Everything, Hannah said firmly. Your threats, grabbing her arm, all of it. Want to see how the administration reacts to a star quarterback bullying a transfer student? For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Travis stepped back, his hands raised in mock surrender. Whatever, he said. This isn't over, Mouse. Not by a long shot. As he and his crew walked away, Zara slid down the lockers until she was sitting on the floor, her whole body shaking. Are you okay? Hannah asked, kneeling beside her. Zara looked up at her friend, and Hannah was surprised to see not just fear in her eyes, but anger, real, burning anger. I'm tired of running, Zara said quietly. I'm tired of being afraid. What do you mean? Zara stood up, brushing off her clothes. I mean, I can't keep living like this. Something has to change. Hannah watched as Zara walked away, and she couldn't shake the feeling that her quiet friend was about to do something that would change everything. That evening, Zara sat in her bedroom, staring at a framed photograph on her desk. It showed her grandfather, Zara Patel, in his younger days, standing in a traditional fighting stance. To anyone else, it might have looked like a simple martial arts pose, but Zara knew the truth. Her grandfather had been many things: a freedom fighter, a protector, and yes, when necessary, an assassin. He had trained her not just in fighting techniques, but in the art of becoming invisible, of moving without sound, of reading people's intentions in their posture and breathing. The strongest weapon is not in the body, but in the mind, he had told her countless times during their training sessions in his small apartment in Mumbai. Anyone can throw a punch, beta. But to truly protect yourself and others, you must think 3 steps ahead. Zara closed her eyes and let the memories wash over her. The early morning sessions before school, learning to move like water, to strike like lightning. The meditation exercises that taught her to remain calm under pressure. The philosophy behind the physical training, that true strength came not from hurting others, but from protecting oneself and those who couldn't protect themselves. She had kept his teaching secret since moving to America, afraid that her classmates would see her as even more of an outsider. But now, sitting in her room with a bruise forming on her arm where Travis had grabbed her, she realized that hiding her strength hadn't protected her at all. Zara stood up and moved to the center of her room, closing her eyes and settling into a familiar stance. She began to move through the forms her grandfather had taught her, each movement precise and controlled. Her body remembered the training even after months of neglect, muscle memory taking over as she flowed from one technique to another. As she moved, she thought about Travis and his crew. They were used to intimidating people through size and aggression, but they had never faced someone who truly understood combat. They were bullies, not fighters, and bullies relied on their targets being afraid. Zara opened her eyes and looked at herself in the mirror. The quiet, timid girl staring back at her was gone, replaced by someone who stood straighter, whose eyes held a newfound determination. I will not run anymore, she said to her reflection. I will not hide. She thought about Hannah's courage in standing up to Travis, about the video on her phone that could have gotten him in serious trouble. Her friend had risked her own social standing to protect her, and Zara realized she had been letting Hannah fight her battles while she cowered in the shadows. That night, she called her grandfather in Mumbai. Nana, she said when he answered, using the familiar term of endearment. Zara, beta, his warm voice came through the phone. It's so good to hear from you. How are you settling in America? I've been having some trouble at school, she admitted. There are some boys who have been bothering me. There was a long pause. What kind of bothering? Zara told him everything about Travis and his crew, about the daily humiliations, about the incident in the hallway. When she finished, her grandfather was quiet for a long moment. And you have not used your training? He asked finally. I was afraid, Zara admitted. I didn't want to draw attention to myself. Beta, her grandfather said gently, do you remember what I taught you about fear? That it's a warning, not a prison, Zara recited. Exactly. Fear tells us to be cautious, to be prepared. But it should never stop us from protecting ourselves or others. You have a gift, Zara. You have knowledge and skills that most people will never possess. But those gifts are worthless if you're too afraid to use them. What if I hurt someone? You won't, her grandfather said with certainty. Do you know why? Because I trained you not just to fight, but to control. You know the difference between defending yourself and attacking others. Trust in your training, beta. Trust in yourself. After they hung up, Zara sat in her room for a long time, thinking about her grandfather's words. She had spent so much time trying to be invisible that she had forgotten who she really was underneath the shy exterior. She was Zara Patel, granddaughter of Ajit Patel, inheritor of generations of warriors and protectors. She was not a mouse, and she was tired of pretending to be one. The next day started like any other, but Zara felt different. She walked through the hallways with her head up, her posture straighter. A few students noticed the change, including Hannah, who caught up with her between classes. You seem different today, Hannah observed. Good different. More confident. I talked to my grandfather last night, Zara said. He reminded me of some things I had forgotten. What kind of things? Zara smiled, and Hannah was struck by how much stronger her friend looked. That I don't have to be afraid. During lunch, Zara sat with Hannah and a few other students Hannah had introduced her to. For the first time since arriving at Rosewood, she felt like she might actually belong somewhere. That feeling didn't last long. Travis and his crew approached their table, and Zara could see the cruel gleam in Travis's eyes. He was still angry about the incident in the hallway, and he had clearly decided it was time to escalate things. Well, Travis said loudly, drawing attention from the surrounding tables. Look who's sitting with the popular kids now. Moving up in the world. Mouse. Her name is Zara, Hannah said firmly. And she has every right to sit wherever she wants. Does she now? Travis asked, his voice dripping with false sweetness. I think Mouse here has gotten a little too comfortable. Maybe it's time to remind her where she belongs. Before anyone could react, Travis grabbed Zara's chair and yanked it backward, causing her to stumble as she tried to maintain her balance. The cafeteria erupted in laughter and gasps. Travis, stop it! Hannah shouted, but Jake and Brad moved to block her from interfering. What's wrong, Mouse? Travis taunted. Can't keep your balance? Maybe you should stick to sitting on the floor where you belong. Zara steadied herself, and when she looked up at Travis, something in her expression made him take a step back. Gone was the timid, frightened girl he was used to tormenting. In her place stood someone who looked dangerous. You need to stop, Zara said, her voice carrying clearly across the now silent cafeteria. Or what? Travis laughed, but it sounded forced. What are you going to do about it, Mouse? Instead of answering, Zara reached down and calmly picked up her chair, setting it upright. The simple gesture somehow carried more threat than any words. Could have. I'm asking you nicely, she said. Please leave me alone. You're asking me? Travis's voice rose with incredulity. You don't ask me for anything, Mouse. You don't. He reached out to grab her again, but this time, Zara was ready. The moment his hand touched her arm, she moved. It happened so fast that most students didn't even see it. One moment Travis was reaching for her. The next he was on the ground, his arm twisted behind his back in a way that looked extremely painful but caused no permanent damage. I asked you nicely, Zara said calmly, maintaining the hold. I won't ask again. The cafeteria erupted in shocked whispers and gasps. Jake and Brad started forward, but Zara's eyes flicked to them with a look that froze them in place. I wouldn't, she said simply. Travis struggled against her grip, his face red with humiliation and pain. Let me go, you psycho. Are you going to leave me alone? Zara asked. Yes, just let me go. Zara released him and stepped back, her hands at her sides. Travis scrambled to his feet, his face flushed with embarrassment as he looked around at all the staring faces. This isn't over, he said, but his voice lacked its usual confidence. Yes, it is, Zara replied calmly. Unless you want to repeat. Performance. Travis looked like he wanted to say something else, but the expressions on the faces around him made it clear that he had lost this confrontation completely. He turned and stalked out of the cafeteria, Jake and Brad trailing behind him. The silence stretched for a moment longer. Then the cafeteria exploded in conversation. Students turned to stare at Zara, their expressions ranging from shock to admiration to fear. Hannah grabbed Zara's arm. Oh my God, what was that? How did you do that? Zara looked around at all the staring faces and felt a moment of panic. She had exposed herself, revealed her secret. Everything would be different now. I need some air, she said, pushing through the crowd toward the exit. But as she walked away, she heard something that stopped her in her tracks. Someone started clapping. Then another person joined in, and another. Soon, half the cafeteria was applauding. For the first time in her life, Zara was the center of attention for something other than being a victim. And surprisingly, it didn't feel as terrifying as she had imagined. The video of Zara's confrontation with Travis spread through the school like wildfire. By the end of the day, everyone had seen it, and opinions were divided. Some students thought she had gone too far, while others saw her as a hero who had finally stood up to a bully. Zara found herself surrounded by people who wanted to talk to her, to ask questions about what had happened. The attention was overwhelming for someone who had spent her entire life trying to be invisible. I can't believe you did that, said Lexi Clark, a girl from Zara's English class who had never spoken to her before. Travis has been picking on kids for years, and no one has ever stood up to him like that. I didn't mean for it to become such a big deal, Zara said, uncomfortable with the attention. Are you kidding? This is huge, Lexi continued. You showed everyone that bullies can be stopped. That was amazing. But not everyone was supportive. Some of Travis's friends and supporters saw Zara's actions as an attack on their social hierarchy. They whispered about her as she walked past, calling her dangerous and unstable. The administration was also concerned. Principal Johnson called Zara into his office the next morning, along with her parents. Miss Patel, the principal said, his expression serious. I need to understand what happened in the cafeteria yesterday. Zara's mother, Priya, sat beside her, her face worried. Her father, Ravi, had taken time off work to be there, and she could see the concern in his eyes. Travis has been bullying me since I started here, Zara said calmly. Yesterday, he physically grabbed me and tried to humiliate me in front of everyone. I defended myself. Using some kind of martial arts, Principal Johnson said. Where did you learn those techniques? Zara glanced at her parents, then back at the principal. My grandfather taught me. He believed everyone should know how to protect themselves, Did he now? Principal Johnson looked skeptical. And what else did your grandfather teach you? Discipline. Control. That violence should only be used as a last resort to protect yourself or others. And you felt that was the case yesterday? Yes, Zara said firmly. Travis has been harassing me for weeks. He's physically grabbed me before, and yesterday he did it again in front of everyone. I asked him to stop, and when he didn't, I made him stop. Principal Johnson studied her for a long moment. Several students have come forward to corroborate your story about the ongoing bullying. And the video shows that you only used enough force to restrain Travis, not to hurt him. Zara's parents exchanged glances. They had known about some of the bullying, but not the full extent of it. We should have been told about this sooner, Priya said. If our daughter was being harassed, we had a right to know. I didn't want to worry you, Zara said quietly. I thought I could handle it. And you did, Ravi said, placing a hand on her shoulder. I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. Principal Johnson cleared his throat. While I understand that Miss Patel was defending herself, I'm concerned about the method she used. This kind of physical altercation could have serious consequences. What consequences? Priya asked sharply. Our daughter was being bullied, and she defended herself. From what I've heard, this Travis boy has been terrorizing students for years without any consequences. That's not, Principal Johnson began. It is, Ravi interrupted. We've spoken to other parents. This boy has a history of bullying, and the school has done nothing to stop it. Our daughter did what she had to do. In the end, Principal Johnson decided not to suspend Zara, but he did require her to meet with the school counselor to discuss appropriate conflict resolution strategies. Travis, meanwhile, received a formal warning about his behavior and was required to attend anger management counseling. As they left the principal's office, Zara's parents walked silently beside her. Finally, Priya spoke. Why didn't you tell us how bad it was? She asked. We could have helped. I was embarrassed, Zara admitted. I felt like I should be able to handle it myself. You did handle it, Ravi said. But you don't have to face these things alone. We're your parents. We're here to support you. That evening, Zara sat with her parents in their living room, finally telling them everything about her experience at Rosewood. She told them about the daily humiliations, the fear, the loneliness. I'm sorry we didn't see how much you were struggling, Priya said, tears in her eyes. We were so focused on our own adjustments to this new country that we didn't pay enough attention to yours. It's not your fault, Zara said. I didn't want you to worry. You both work so hard to provide for us. Your well-being is more important than anything else, Ravi said firmly. Promise me you'll come to us if something like this happens again. I promise, Zara said. But I don't think it will happen again. I'm not going to hide anymore. A week after the cafeteria incident, Zara was surprised to find Travis waiting by her locker. He looked different, less arrogant, more uncertain. His usual crew was nowhere to be seen. Can we talk? He asked quietly. Zara studied his face, looking for signs of deception or anger. But all she saw was what looked like genuine remorse. About what? She asked, not moving away from her locker. About what I did, what I've been doing. Travis ran a hand through his hair. I wanted to apologize. Apologize? Zara couldn't hide her surprise. For what exactly? For everything, Travis said. For calling you names, for grabbing you, for making your life hell since you got here. For being a complete ass to you for no reason other than that I could. Zara closed her locker and leaned against it, studying him. Why now? Because you got embarrassed in front of everyone? Yes, Travis said, surprising her with his honesty. But not just because of that. Because I realized that what I was doing was wrong, really wrong. You're just realizing that now? Travis flushed. I know how that sounds, but I guess I never thought about how it felt from your perspective. You were just, I don't know, a target. Someone who wouldn't fight back. And now that I did fight back, you suddenly have a conscience? Maybe, Travis said. Or maybe seeing you stand up to me made me realize that I was being a coward. It's easy to pick on someone who won't fight back. It made me feel powerful. But it wasn't real power. It was just pathetic. Zara was quiet for a long moment. Do you know what it's like to be afraid to go to school? To spend every day wondering when someone's going to humiliate you next? No, Travis said quietly. I don't. I've never been on that side of it. It's exhausting, Zara said. It makes you feel small and worthless. It makes you wish you could just disappear. I'm sorry, Travis said, and his voice cracked slightly. I'm really, truly sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I needed you to know that I know I was wrong. Zara studied his face, looking for any sign that this was some kind of trick. But Travis looked genuinely remorseful, and she found herself believing him. Thank you, she said finally. I appreciate the apology. I don't expect you to forgive me, Travis said. I just wanted you to know that I'm going to do better. I'm going to try to be a better person. That's good, Zara said. But you should know that if you ever try to bully me or anyone else again, I won't hesitate to stop you. I know, Travis said, and I deserve that. I just hope ... I hope maybe someday you might be able to forgive me. Not now, but maybe someday. After he left, Zara stood by her locker for a long time, thinking about their conversation. She had expected to feel satisfied by his apology, but instead, she felt something more complex. She saw him not as a monster, but as a person who had made terrible choices and was trying to do better. Hannah found her there a few minutes later. I saw Travis talking to you, Hannah said. What did he want? To apologize, Zara said. Do you believe him? Zara considered the question. I think so. He seemed genuine. Are you going to forgive him? I don't know, Zara said honestly. Maybe. Eventually, but not yet. Some things take time. Hannah nodded. That's fair. You don't owe him anything, including forgiveness. I know, Zara said. But I also know that holding on to anger hurts me more than it hurts him. My grandfather always said that forgiveness isn't about excusing someone's behavior. It's about freeing yourself from the burden of carrying that anger around. Your grandfather sounds wise, Hannah said. He is, Zara smiled. He taught me that true strength isn't about overpowering others. It's about having the power to choose your response to any situation. In the weeks that followed, Zara's life at Rosewood transformed in ways she had never imagined. Students who had never noticed her before began approaching her with respect and curiosity. Some wanted to know about her martial arts training. Others simply wanted to thank her for standing up to Travis. You inspired me, said Marcus, a sophomore who had been dealing with his own bullying issues. If you can stand up to Travis Cooper, maybe I can handle the guys who've been picking on me. You can, Zara told him. But remember, fighting should always be the last resort. Sometimes just showing confidence is enough to make bullies back down. Lexi Clark had become a regular part of Zara's group, along with Hannah and a few other students who appreciated having friends who valued kindness over social status. They ate lunch together every day, and Zara found herself laughing more than she had in months. I still can't believe how quiet you were when you first got here, Lexi said one day. You seemed so shy and scared. I was shy and scared, Zara admitted. I was in a new country, a new school, and I felt like I didn't belong anywhere. And now? Hannah asked. Now I realize that belonging isn't about fitting into someone else's idea of normal, Zara said. It's about being true to yourself and finding people who accept you as you are. Mr. Harris, her English teacher, had also taken notice of the change in Zara. He approached her after class one day with a proposal. I've been thinking about starting a peer mentoring program, he said. pairing upperclassmen with underclassmen who might be struggling with the transition to high school. Would you be interested in participating? Me? Zara was surprised. Why me? Because you understand what it's like to feel like an outsider, Mr. Harris said. And because you've shown that it's possible to overcome those challenges. You could really help other students who are going through similar experiences. Zara thought about it and realized she wanted to help. Yes, I'd like that. The peer mentoring program became one of Zara's favorite activities. She was paired with a shy freshman named Amy who reminded her of herself when she had first arrived at Rosewood. Amy was from South Korea and struggling with similar issues of cultural adjustment and social anxiety. Everyone here seems so confident, Amy said during one of their meetings. I feel like I stick out like a sore thumb. I felt the same way, Zara told her. But you know what I learned? Most people are too worried about their own problems to spend much time judging you. And the ones who do you, they're usually not the kind of people you want to be friends with anyway. But what if people are mean to me? Then you stand up for yourself, Zara said simply. You don't have to be aggressive about it, but you don't have to accept mistreatment either. You have more strength than you realize. As the semester progressed, Zara watched Amy blossom from a terrified freshman into a confident young woman who made friends and joined the debate team. It reminded Zara of her own transformation and made her grateful for the journey she had taken. Even her relationship with her parents had improved. They had weekly family dinners now where they talked about their days and their challenges. Priya and Ravi made more effort to understand Zara's American high school experience, and Zara was more open about her struggles and successes. I'm proud of the woman you're becoming, Priya told her one evening. You've shown such courage and strength. I learned from the best, Zara said, hugging her mother. You and Papa came to a new country and built a life for us. That took incredible courage. We all did it together, Ravi said, joining the hug. We're stronger as a family. 3 months after the cafeteria incident, Zara stood in the same hallway where Travis had first cornered her, but everything was different now. She was no longer the frightened, isolated girl who had tried to make herself invisible. She walked with confidence, surrounded by friends who valued her for who she was. As she made her way to lunch, she noticed a commotion near the lockers. A group of older students had surrounded a small, scared-looking boy who appeared to be a freshman. Zara recognized the dynamic immediately. It was the same pattern of bullying she had experienced. Give us your lunch money, kid, one of the bullies was saying. Unless you want to spend the rest of the year eating out of the trash. The freshman looked terrified, clutching his backpack like a shield. Other students walked by, averting their eyes just as they had done when Zara was being bullied. But Zara didn't walk by. Hey, she called out, her voice carrying the quiet authority she had developed over the past few months. What's going on here? The bullies turned to look at her, and she saw recognition in their eyes. Everyone at Rosewood knew who she was now, the girl who had taken down Travis Cooper. Nothing that concerns you, the leader said, but his voice lacked conviction. Actually, it does concern me, Zara said, stepping closer. I run the peer mentoring program, and bullying concerns all of us. Hannah appeared beside her, followed by Lexi and Marcus. Word had spread quickly about the confrontation, and Zara's friends had come to support her. You guys should probably find something better to do, Hannah said calmly. The bullies looked around at the growing crowd of students, many of whom were now watching with disapproval instead of indifference. The social dynamics at Rosewood had shifted over the past few months, and bullying was no longer tolerated the way it once was. Whatever, the leader muttered. This is stupid anyway. As the bullies walked away, Zara knelt down to the freshman's level. Are you okay? She asked gently. The boy nodded, though he was still shaking slightly. Thank you, he whispered. I didn't know what to do. What's your name? David. David Kim. Well, David, have you heard about our peer mentoring program? I think you might be interested. David's face lit up. Really? You'd help me? Of course, Zara said, helping him to his feet. That's what we're here for. As they walked toward the cafeteria together, Hannah fell into step beside Zara. You realize what you just did, right? Hannah said with a smile. Helped a kid who was being bullied? You completed the circle, Hannah said. From victim to survivor to protector, your grandfather would be proud. Zara thought about her grandfather's teachings, about the long journey. From the scared girl who had first walked through Rosewood's doors to the confident young woman she had become. She had learned that true strength wasn't about being the toughest or the loudest. It was about standing up for what was right, protecting those who couldn't protect themselves, and never letting fear keep you from being who you were meant to be. That evening, Zara called her grandfather to tell him about her day. You have honored our family's legacy, he said, his voice warm with pride. Not through violence, but through courage. Not through fear, but through compassion. You have learned the most important lesson of all. What's that, Nana? That the strongest person in any room is not the one everyone fears, he said. It's the one everyone respects. And respect is earned not by putting others down, but by lifting them up. As Zara hung up the phone, she looked out her bedroom window at the stars beginning to appear in the evening sky. 6 months ago, she had felt lost and alone, a stranger in a strange land. Now she knew that home wasn't a place. It was the feeling of being comfortable in your own skin, surrounded by people who saw your worth. She had found her voice, her strength, and her place in the world. More importantly, she had learned to use that strength not just to protect herself, but to create a better environment for everyone around her. Travis had been right about one thing. She wasn't the same scared mouse who had arrived at Rosewood High School. She was Zara Patel, and she was exactly who she was meant to be. The next morning, as she walked through the halls of Rosewood High, Zara smiled at the familiar sights and sounds. Students called out greetings to her. Teachers nodded with respect, and she saw David Kim standing a little straighter as he talked with other freshmen about joining the mentoring program. She learned that sometimes the smallest person in the room could create the biggest change. Sometimes the quietest voice could speak the loudest truth. And sometimes, the girl everyone underestimated could teach everyone else what real strength looked like. Zara Patel was no longer hiding in the shadows. She was standing in the light, and she was helping others find their way there too. Up next, we have 2 more incredible stories that are waiting for you. Just click the image you want to watch and it will take you there. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. It would mean a lot.